everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, Monday, September 18th. In this video, we're just going to be going over the weather report, my core picks for today, and the top GPP teams to stack for my cheat sheet overall. There will be no recap since it's been since Friday since we made a video. So hopefully you all had a pretty good weekend. Hopefully you had some good success in MLB DFS on Friday and over the weekend if you were playing there, if you were playing MLB or NFL DFS as well, college DFS, CFL, all that good stuff. Lots of DFS opportunities at this time of year. But we're just going to get right over to the weather report for today. So the only game that has a small chance of weather today is out in Washington with the Nationals and the White Sox. 11% chance of rain. Looks like a pretty calm, cool day out there. Otherwise, 10-mile-an-hour wind, though, left to right. So we'll keep an eye on that as the day moves along. But if anything majorly changes with the weather report, we'll try to update that down in the comments. But that's pretty much what we got. Looks like a pretty good day for baseball overall. So we're going to get off there. We'll get over to FanDuel, talk about my core 5 picks for today. So it's going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters. So it's going to be a combination of past performances and recent history as well. A lot of this is going to be based on past performances today. If you're playing GPPs, obviously stacks are going to play a big role overall for today. But this is kind of what I got. We got Lance Lynn at $9,200. I think there's a couple interesting pitchers on today's slate. He's going to be one of the lower end ones, at least in terms of price tag, at $9,200. Goes against Detroit today. Against Detroit this season, he had 40 points. Last year, he had 43 and 16. So some pretty decent upside there. He's got some pretty good history versus Detroit in the past. You know, Lance Lynn has kind of been a tale of 2 seasons for him. Wasn't too good with the White Sox, been pretty good with the Dodgers outside of a few starts here and there. 11 wins. That ERA is still close to 6 because we had those couple bad starts in there as of late, but it's really been coming down since the time that he was with the White Sox, averaging about 28 fantasy points per game, but still like the upside that he could present today against the Detroit Tigers team. That is not the greatest offensively, to be honest, and if you're looking at some other pitcher options for today in my cheat sheet, we got Brian Wu there going against Oakland, pitched pretty well against them last time. And then at the top, we got Zach Wheeler there, who's kind of had pretty good history versus Atlanta the last couple of seasons. So there is some pretty strong upside there. There is a little bit of risk to be had as well. And then, you know, Freddie Peralta, a little bit of hit or miss versus St. Louis is another option we could look at. Same thing with Justin Verlander. Not a long list of history versus Baltimore, though. So quite a few options out there. Feel free to mix and match as always. We're going to get down to our hitters, though. We're going to start off with Freddie Freeman, who is $4,200, averaging about 14 fantasy points per game. Going against Eduardo Rodriguez today for the Detroit Tigers, which is kind of ironic since he was almost traded to the Dodgers earlier this season, but decided he did not want to go there. But he had a little bit of a no trade clause, so it was a pretty interesting situation to be had there. So it will be interesting to see if that dynamic plays any factor in today's game whatsoever. But just kind of something to note. Freddie Freeman is 4 for 9 versus him in his career. Freddie Freeman, as of late, 7 out of his last 9 games, he's had at least 1 hit, and 3 of those have been multi-hit games. So some pretty decent upside to be had there. A little bit of the lefty on lefty matchup. He was kind of my last core pick that I did ultimately put in here. There's not a long list of history today. So he was just kind of somebody that I wanted to put in there, especially since we had some other pay down options today. And then we're going to move down to his teammate, Kiki Hernandez. Right now, they haven't projected not to start. So this is something we'll monitor throughout the day. Obviously, make sure he's in that starting lineup so you have him in your lineup. But you can play him at second base. You can play him at shortstop. You can play him at outfield. $2,300, a little bit more hit or miss as of late. Prior to that, you know, there was like a 5-game hitting streak. If we go back even further, it looks like we're lagging just a little bit here. So like I said, as of late, a little bit more hit or miss. But then if we go back, you know, about a week ago, he had like a 5-game hitting streak going on. Some pretty good history in his career versus Eduardo Rodriguez, 5 for 8 with 1 home run. Like I said, it's just been a little bit hit or miss lately, but he is a good pay down option at $2,300 if he ultimately gets to start. A guy that hits left-handed pitching pretty well on the regular. So do like him quite a bit. Like I said, you can play him at second base, shortstop, and outfield today. Then we're going to get over to kind of Nolan Arenado. This is more one that's based on past history. So in his career versus Freddie Peralta, 9 for 22 with 4 home runs. That is the most home runs of any hitter versus their pitcher matchup today. Pretty good history there. 3 out of his last 5 games, he's had at least 1 hit, and all 3 have been multi-hit games. So there's a little bit of decent upside there. Those have all been double digits going back a little while since he's hit a home run, but he could very much change that today. You know, Freddie Peralta is one of those pitchers. Sometimes he comes out, sliders are working real good, and he dominates. And then there's other times where he gets into a little bit of trouble, walks some guys. And not really too interested in St. Louis just in general, but Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt both have pretty good history versus him. So even as one-ofs, they look pretty good, but the rest of the lineup, it's probably a little bit more murky if you wanted to go that direction today. Then I forgot to say the season stats for some of these other guys, but 271 average, 26 home runs, 92 RBIs, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game for Nolan Arenado. We'll go back just since I skipped over that with the first two guys in Freddie Freeman and Kike Hernandez. So we'll go back to Freddie Freeman first. He's got the 335 batting average, 26 home runs, 93 RBIs on the season, averaging about 14 fantasy points per game. And then for Kike Hernandez, 234 average, never got a hits for average, 9 home runs, 54 RBIs. Pretty good RBI total, though, but he's been more of a regular player than he's been in past years, and just over 7 fantasy points per game. And then last but not least, we're going to get to Chris Bryant at $2,700. A guy, Rocky's career hasn't been that great, been banged up quite a bit, especially with those back injuries, but he's going in a matchup today against Michael Wacha versus Michael Wacha in his career. 13 for 39 with 3 home runs. 4 of his last 5 starts, Chris Bryant's had at least 1 hit and 2 home runs during that stretch, 2 different games with at least 1 home run. So looks pretty good as of late for him. $2,700 is a pretty cheap price tag when you think of what Chris Bryant could put on in terms of production. Averaging just under 9 fantasy points per game, hitting 250 on the season, 10 home runs, 28 RBIs. Like I said, injury has really been the big deal for him since he's been with the Rockies, but still some pretty good upside to have there in a favorable matchup, in a pitcher, Michael Wacha, who he's hit pretty well against in his career. So that's kind of where we're at for today in terms of the core picks. Obviously, these are just some guys that I want to highlight. You don't necessarily have to play all 5 together. Obviously, stacks are going to play a pretty big role for GPP settings, but just a kind of a talking point to get us started as you're building out your lineups. Also, be sure to check out that cheat sheet, which is up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. It's up on the YouTube community tab. 100% free as you're building out those lineups. If you're interested in more in-depth notes, be sure to check out patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports. You get notable hitter versus pitcher matchups, pitchers, whether or not I would consider them in play, a risky play, or a straight up avoid for today's slate, and all slates Monday through Friday. Some additional stacks that do not fit on the cheat sheet on some of the larger slate days as well. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing this screen. We'll get over to that cheat sheet for today and the top GPP teams to stack overall. So just pulling that up now here as we do speak. I will mention too, I think the Dodgers are still a stackable team. It's just Eduardo Rodriguez has pitched pretty well so far this season. Looks like we're lagging a little bit here with the cheat sheet, so I do apologize for that. But these were going to be the top stacks that I do have for today. So let me just get this all the way brought up here since it's taking a minute. And we got those top GPP teams to stack. Maybe. So we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Brewers. They're going against Adam Wainwright. They've hit Adam Wainwright pretty good throughout his career. Christian Yelich has hit him really well, but he's been dealing with a back injury. He did return, I believe, yesterday after missing like 5-6 games. So could be somebody that we look at. Sal Frelick hasn't really faced him, but I did throw him in the cheat sheet since I like his price tag at $3,000 hitting in the middle of the order. Rowdy Tellez, if he ends up starting 5 for 18 with the 1 home run versus him. Tyron Taylor, if he ends up starting, will be a pretty interesting play too. It's kind of a pay down option for their Brewers stack, 6 for 14 with 2 home runs. Willie Adames, I do have listed in the core picks as well. So I should say a few different options from that Brewers team. And then we have the Chicago White Sox. They don't really have history versus Johan Adon, but his ERA is up almost at 6 at this point in time. It hasn't looked too great, this year or last year in the few starts that he's made at the major league level. So I do like the White Sox today. Didn't really stick any of them in the cheat sheet just because nobody truly stands out, but there's some pretty decently priced players there. And then we have the San Diego Padres. They're going against Ty Black of the Colorado Rockies. Not a lot of upside there with Ty Black. Not a lot of history there for the Padres hitters. Some of them have hit him pretty well. Jurickson Profar, who came back over to the team 3 for 4. A little bit of a run spot there versus Colorado since he was on them earlier this year if you're into that. Did throw Juan Soto in there. He's been hitting the ball pretty well as of late. You can look at Xander Bogaerts. You can look at Manny Machado. You can look at a lot of different players from this Padres team. Ya-Sung Kim does have good history versus Ty Black, 2 for 2, I believe. But he's been dealing with like a little bit of an abdominal issue. So we'll see if he's able to start today or not. So definitely be sure to look out for his name in that starting lineup. We'll try to get as many starting lineups of those out throughout the day as I can. Might be a little bit trickier later today with soccer game going on, but I'll be doing as much as I can at least early this afternoon. And then last but not least, we have the Texas Rangers going against Cutter Crawford. Not a long list of history there. I do like the advantage for the Rangers in this matchup. And then, like I said, if you want to get to the Dodgers against Eduardo Rodriguez, there is room and opportunities to get there as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have in terms of MLB DFS core picks, in terms of the weather report and the top stacks for today. If you guys have any other additional questions related to MLB DFS whatsoever, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on today's main slate. Maybe it's someone from my core 5 picks. Maybe it's someone from my top GPP stacks. Probably a decent chance that there is today, since we only have an 8-game main slate in total. But if it's somebody completely different, still very interested in who that is for you today. And then, like I said, got a soccer game going on later tonight, but I will try to get as many starting lineups as I can get out early this afternoon. If there's any major changes to the weather or the core picks at that point in time, I'll try to mention it as well. Just make sure Kiki Hernandez is starting in that Dodgers lineup later tonight, which I should be around for at that point in time. But with that being said, that's kind of what I do have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, whether you're watching live or on replay. If you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got MLB DFS Monday through Friday until the end of the month. And then we got CFL DFS video going up once a week. We got NFL DFS video going up once a week. Last week I did it on Saturday, breaking down kind of the games one by one and kind of who I would play for the main slate, whether or not I'd be overweight or underweight to certain players and everything else like that. Pretty interesting video. Ended up being about 40 minutes. So definitely be sure to check that out if that's something you're into. That is for both DraftKings and FanDuel. So it should be pretty interesting there. That's, like I said, this is pretty much what I got for today overall. Also be sure to check out Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. Lots of sports going on right now, so take advantage of those. Take advantage of the codes down below, the links down below, so you get a first-time deposit match and some pretty good benefits there as well. Helps you guys out a little bit, helps me out on the side a little bit as well. But with that being said, once again, definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.